Hello, everyone. I'm Grant Flood, junior at Rising Tide Charter School and member of Insider Institute. Today, we have former NBA player, commentator, and current Fox Sports analyst, Donny Marshall. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Grant, it's great to be here with you.
Yeah, this is very exciting. Can't thank you enough for joining us. Um, especially since we have such a busy schedule being a Fox analyst and all, that is truly incredible. And before we begin, wanting you to kind of tell the audience, was something fun and something challenging about being an analyst?
I guess let's go with the challenging. I think if anytime you get into something that you love and you're passionate about, um, at least for me, it was the same way when I played college basketball and I played in the NBA. You sometimes you have this self-punitive kind of thing against yourself. Like you're always, at least for me, I'm always criticizing and critiquing what I've done, what I've said. The hardest thing for me, Grant, I cannot watch my games back, at least with the volume up. I just can't hear my voice. I think I sound squirrely, so I'm very kind of critical of myself. Not necessarily, and it's kind of silly because it's not the content, it's not the substance, because I know and I believe what I'm talking about, and I've done my homework and I've studied. It's the way I sound. I know that sounds kind of vain, but that's probably the most challenging because a lot of us want to listen. When I played basketball, uh, the best way for me to figure out why I was missing left or right or short was to watch myself on video. So early on, I would have someone get a video camera, a phone, whatever it was, and I would have them watch me shoot, and then I'd watch it back. I'm like, okay, that's flat. I'm not holding my follow through. We call it pulling the string when you go like that instead of holding your follow through. And so that helped. But now, as I'm doing the television and over the last 19 or 20 years that I've been in TV, it just the challenging part is I know I need to watch myself and I know I need to hear what I'm saying to find out if there's a crutch. A crutch is something like when people say a lot, or they say right. Like Grant, wasn't that a good shot? Right. So you have to listen to yourself. You really do. Most challenging for me is hearing myself. I just can't do it. The best part and the most fun I think with what I do is every game, every event I do is different. And I think everyone lives to be in a profession or a career that it's not the same. And listen, not all of us are fortunate enough to be able to do that. But even as teachers, firemen, the people who are important, teachers, firemen, policemen, those people, it's new to them every day what they do. Every day brings something new, a new adventure, a new challenge, and I think that's what I love most about my job is no games are the same, no players are the same, and I look forward to seeing that every single event I do.
Yeah, that's a good point. When I first started, making YouTube videos and stuff, I was pretty critical of my voice as well. So I've definitely started to overcome that obstacle, relooking ways that, I can kind of critique my broadcasting. So, yeah. But little backstory there. But, being a Michigan native, what was the main reason you selected going to UConn? Was there any other schools you received scholarships from, or were you like, UConn, this is my number one destination to play college basketball?
Yeah, so the interesting part, Grant, is I was born in Detroit, but at a young age, we moved to Seattle. So I really spent most of my young life in Seattle. I think we left Michigan when I was around a year old, maybe just under a year old. But the interesting thing about that is it had always stayed with me. I always wanted to go to the University of Michigan. That was always my dream. As a kid, I had Michigan gear. All my family that had stayed in Michigan would send me that for my birthday every year up until I actually chose UConn. So
Wow.
even in junior high, middle school, high school, I was always wearing big blue Michigan something, a big yellow M everywhere. Um, but the I mean, the quick story is I had a lot of college coaches come to my house for a home visit, they call them, and they can come in and they kind of give you their whole spiel of why you should go to their school, how great you're going to be, you know, what they have to offer in terms of, you know, your playing time, your education, where it will get you if you go to their school, how great you will be. And every coach says the same thing. But the one coach that came to my house and didn't sound like everyone else was Jim Calhoun from the University of Connecticut. He came by himself, and Grant, almost, and I think every single coach came with at least one guy, but some head coaches came with 4 and 5 assistant coaches. It was overwhelming. You know, it was very overwhelming to see these, you know, listen, I was raised by a single mother since I was 1. And to see these, and up until my senior year, I had, I think I had 3 male teachers in school, all elementary, middle school, high school. So the man of the house for me was my mother. So to have these grown men in your house and 4 and 5 at a time telling you, you need to come here, we're going to make you this, you're going to do this, you're going to become this. It was overwhelming. It really was, because there was really no male figure like that in my life. So that kind of set me back. But Jim Calhoun came by himself. He got out of a cab and said, you know, I said, well, where's your rental car? He said, that yellow cab that just pulled away. That's what I'm using today. And when you're ready to be done with me, I'll call the cab and leave. And Grant, he came to my house, my mother and I, for the visit at about 10 o'clock in the morning, just a little before 10. I remember it like it was yesterday, and didn't leave until 10 o'clock at night. It was tremendous. Where a lot of the other coaches, Grant, we just wanted them, okay, we've heard this before, all right. We're looking at our watches. My mom's like, all right, you finished with your drinks, you know, your orange juice, or whatever. Okay, time to go, you know, an hour in. And Jim Calhoun, we wanted him to stay. He was just something that was compelling, something that was caring, that was nurturing about him. He had lost his father at a young age, and so he was actually the man of his house. So we had kind of a connection there, and it just, from there, I just said, you know, and it probably wasn't the right decision, but I chose the school because of the coach. A lot of guys choose their school because of the location, because of maybe the temperature. I definitely didn't choose Connecticut because of the temperature, that's for sure. Winters are rough, you know that up here, Grant. And a lot of them, they pick their schools because of the colors or the mascots. I picked UConn because of the man that ran that program in Jim Calhoun. And I got to be honest, Grant, if I had to do it again 20 more times, I would do the exact same thing because of that guy.
Yeah, I think that's outstanding how at first you get that player and coach bond, and you can definitely work off of that. I think that's an outstanding story.
Now, I hated him. Let me tell you, I hate the
strong
really? word. The hate's a strong word, but, and I know we're not supposed to say it, but I hated him, Grant. I'd like all of us, he was so hard on us. And at the time when you're young, you know, you don't understand why this guy is yelling and screaming at you, and you're playing as hard as you can, and he's yelling at you like you're trying to cut corners, or like you're trying to turn the ball over, or, you know, you're trying to run slow. So we really did not like him, myself included. And I tell you what, I'd say after 3 years, I understood what the yelling and screaming was all about. And now, you know, Coach Calhoun, I probably talk to him 3 or 4 times a month just to either check in, or we go play golf, or he has become, even then, a father to me that I can pick up the phone or text and call at any time I'd like.
Wow, yeah, that is that's very awesome. That is awesome. Well, shifting gears now to your NBA career. In your second year game with the Cavaliers, you registered your first bucket against the Miami Heat. Was that your welcome to the NBA moment, or was there another moment that kind of stood out early in your career?
I think because you, and not to downplay it or to make it sound like, oh, it's not a big deal, because listen, playing in the NBA it is a dream come true. And I don't care who you talk to. If you talk to Michael Jordan, you know, all the way down to me, it is a dream come true for any kid. Just because the few numbers, I think now there's something around 400 players in the world who play in the NBA. When I played, it was about 320. There weren't as many teams. But if you think about that, there are millions of attorneys and doctors and lawyers, and firemen and police. There are millions of those people. Professional basketball players in the NBA, 300 and some, 400 and some. I mean, if you think about the numbers in that aspect, you're like, wow. And at the time, I realized that. I grew up playing soccer, Grant. So the NBA, I didn't start playing basketball until I was 16. So the NBA wasn't a vision of mine. It wasn't a dream. Being a professional soccer player in Europe, because we didn't have the MLS when I was growing up, that was my goal. I wanted to graduate high school and go straight over to Europe and play professional soccer. And then the little orange ball got in the way. But I understood when I got to the NBA, like, I'm not every day. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm some mixed kid. My mom is Irish. My father was from the Ivory Coast of Africa. I'm some like half-breed mixed kid, confused, from Seattle. Now I'm on the East Coast. Don't really know where I fit in. And I'm a soccer player playing basketball. But once I got drafted, every single day I understood how important that gift was to be chosen to play at that level. And I think meeting one of my teammates early on in training camp, my rookie year, that was probably the most memorable. His name was Bobby Phils. Bobby he passed away about my third or fourth year in the league. He got into a car accident, but Bobby treated me like I had never been treated before, because he had been in my same position, second round pick. Everyone counted him out. They didn't, no one really believed in him besides the people who drafted him. But there were a lot of people who doubted him. And I've had that my entire life. And I think that's what's made me great. It challenged me. And Bobby was the same way. He helped me get my first apartment, paid my first 3 months before I got any type of check, because I had to be there early to work out, let me drive his vehicle for about 3 months. Even at times giving me gas money, his gas card. He would work out with me extra. I mean, he was my first experience, Bobby Phils, of what the NBA was. And it's at times it's so negative, and the stereotypes are so bad. Spending money, losing money, jewelry, and the women, and all that other negative stuff. I didn't see that because Bobby almost shielded me from that. And that's my greatest memory. My greatest experience was befriending Bobby Phils, and everything that he taught me from 1995, Grant, I still believe in today. Bobby told me, it was interesting because I had never played golf, and I said, bye. He said, you got to play golf, rookie. You got to play golf. I'm like, man, golf is for sissies, man. I'm not playing golf, because when I grew up, it was raining all the time. You're not playing golf, So he said, no, we're going to play this game. I'm going to bring you with me. And so we get out on the course, and he says, I know it sounds like it's not something like masculine, this game, but you can remember this, Rook, you can be rich, you can be smart, funny, handsome, popular, but the most important thing in our lives are the relationships we make. And you will not make any better relationships than on the golf course. And from then I started playing golf, and I still remember that. And Bobby's right. I got my first TV gig because I was playing golf, Grant. I was on the course, and someone offered me a job to be on TV to do Celtic stuff, TV, studio, games. That wouldn't have happened if I wasn't playing golf. I really believe that.
Wow. That's actually very interesting, because actually my follow-up question was, because I know you're a board of directors for the First Tee of Connecticut,
Yeah.
helping out children in the state learning how to play golf.
Yeah.
Did you really ever think that golf could have been a future profession of yours?
Not, I would say not a profession, but I thought it could be a vehicle to be able to connect, again, what Bobby said, to create relationships, but also to help, because I love the game so much, and I live it in the summer. People say, "Oh, you do college games. Well, what do you do in the summer?" And I joke, and I'm like, "Well, I'm a professional amateur golfer in the summer," but because me and a bunch of my buddies, we play a lot. But I just thought that growing up, I didn't have the exposure, Grant, to the game of golf, and that's what the First Tee is. It allows exposure to kids, not just in the inner cities, but sometimes the kids who are out in the rural areas who don't have the opportunity to play golf. It creates scholarships. It creates great educational situations for kids through the game of golf. I mean, golf is a game of integrity, of honesty. You're playing against basically yourself. I'm not playing against Grant. I'm not playing against my brother. I'm playing against myself, because if I move that ball, if I say the ball was here instead of here, I'm cheating myself. So even though I never saw myself as a professional golfer, I knew it could be a way to continue to give and to teach people about the things that I've learned in my life. And it just happens that the last 20 years or so, it's been through golf and helping kids.
Yeah, that is awesome, and definitely continue that. Definitely helping out a lot of kids learning how to play golf there, and that's awesome. As a member of the then New Jersey Nets, he made the back-to-back NBA Finals.
Yeah.
Describe the emotion that you and your teammates were kind of going through during those playoff runs.
That was a great time. One of my dear friends, at the time, Grant, I had been out of basketball. I was trying to get my broadcasting career started. I was done playing. I can remember I had finished, and I didn't quite throw away all my shoes, because there were still some of my buddies who were playing, and we'd go to my alma mater at UConn, and we'd work out in the summer just for fun. And for me, it was for fun. Well, one of my close friends, Jason Kidd, had given me a call and said, "Hey, I'm working on getting traded to New Jersey. Do you still have some basketball shoes around?" Because he knew I was done, and I had known him since high school, and we golfed together. And I said, "Yeah, I can still run up and down a little bit." And he said, "Well, I need some allies with me when I go to New Jersey." So next thing you know, he gets the trade to Jersey, and now I'm in training camp with the Nets. And the year before that, though, Grant, I had done some pre, half, and post game shows with a CBS affiliate here in Connecticut with a good friend of mine, Joe Tessitore. He really is the one who, yeah, Joe's is kind of the one who I give the credit to of getting me into the broadcast industry, because he saw something in me that I had no idea was there. And so I had come out of the booth, as they say, and went back to play with the Nets. And again, great experience for me and my teammates. It was the one time that I had ever been. And if you understand, it's the little things in sports, and sometimes just in life, it's little tiny things, Grant, that mean so much to you, and that can make such a huge difference for our team. And it sounds silly, but in the day and age of everyone's trying to get the most money, and they're trying to get commercial deals and their own shoe deal and clothing lines, and every player is a brand, their own brand. Everyone on this team, Grant, wore Nike shoes, every last guy. And so when we went to the playoffs, Jason Kidd had his own shoe, and we all wore his shoe from 1 to 15. Everyone wore the Jason Kidd shoe. And the feeling of just a silly shoe bringing us together was everything. And that's what helped us get to the NBA Finals. Now, the tough part is that on the other side was Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. And we thought, okay, if we let Shaq get 30 and Kobe gets 30 or 40, that's 70. We're still scoring 110 a game. But then you had guys like Robert Horry and Derek Fisher that we forgot about. And so we got swept. So that was tough. But we knew that we were up against something that was much bigger than us. Well, not only did we take and learn from that, we got back the next year. And that second time we played the San Antonio Spurs, which we thought we could actually win it. We really believed it. The year before, I don't know if we really believed it, and who would against Kobe and Shaq when they're they're young. Kobe was a couple years
legends there, yeah.
Right. I mean, Kobe was young, but he was still amazing.
Of course.
And Shaq was a monster. So we get the next year. It's a young Tony Parker, Tim Duncan, and some other guys that we maybe we didn't give them as much respect. We lost 4-2 in that series, but we shot something crazy, Grant, like 32%, 33%. And they said, analytically, if we had shot 40% in one game, we would have basically won that series. But I think the thing that you have to understand is it's not always championships are wonderful. Everyone wants to win and have a ring and be,
Right.
on top. But it's the stuff that you learn along the way. It kind of sounds corny. It's not always the destination. I think when everyone and again, people will say, well, you didn't win it, that's why you say that. But I've won before. Excuse me, I've won championships. So, and I still believe this, that you forget, you don't enjoy that journey, and you don't learn as much along the way if all your focus is that last thing at the end. And that for me was so special with what I experienced with those teams those 2 years. Even though we didn't win it, we still proved a lot of people wrong. The year before I got there, they had won like 24 games or 25 games. We flipped that, and I think we only lost 23 or 24 that Jason Kidd's first year. So we did some special things, man, and that'll always stay with me.
Yeah, and Jason Kidd, of course, a Hall of Famer himself. You definitely must have learned a lot from him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, pretty much, what made you become an analyst? Kind of my other question was it always something you were interested in once retiring? You were just telling me, during the late stage of your career, you're always kind of interested in the broadcasting path.
Yeah, I could always had a gift of gab. I always had. I think that I had a couple things. I had respect and control of language, and I know that sounds weird, probably for someone who's not a writer or a journalist, but I was always aware of what I was saying, how I was saying it, past tense, present tense. I think in a day and age of, especially with tweeting and texting and a lot of writing on our computers, we don't talk as much. But back then, all you did was talk. That's the only way you could really communicate, unless that's how I was writing love letters in class. But I always had a way of describing things and explaining myself, and I loved writing. In high school, I took writing classes. Writing and Shakespeare were my two favorite classes my last 3 years in high school, 10, 11, 12. And I could put it together. I think that's the most important thing. And my mother had always taught me, listen, sports are great. You can go on and play soccer or basketball, whatever it is you want to do, but you have to be able to articulate, and you have to be able to communicate with people. And there's so many athletes out there at the time who just, you couldn't understand them. As you and I talked about earlier, this crutch, I don't know, because you're not saying anything. So I would always pay attention to what I was listening to on TV, professors, how they spoke, not just what they were saying, but how they were saying it. And then when I got to a point in my career where I'm like, I don't want to really, I'm good. I squeezed a lot out of an NBA career that I wasn't even supposed to have. I was a soccer player playing basketball. So I knew that I wanted to get into something else immediately from basketball, using my brain, whether it was maybe coaching. But the TV really was something desirable because I didn't see any other modern day athletes calling games. There were a lot of older guys that I would listen to on TV. And I remembered in college, some of our biggest games, Grant, all the commentators, the broadcasters, and it was usually the color commentators, the analysts, a lot of self-promotion. They were never talking about Donny Marshall from Better Way, Washington, or Ray Allen, born in California, but came out of high school in South Carolina. He was an Army brat or military brat. Kevin Ollie, who's from Los Angeles, 3,000 miles. They never talked about that. It was all about them and who they knew and where they were going next. And I said, if I get into this industry, I want to talk about the thing. And that's the players, the coaches, the teams, how they got here, how they worked so hard to be on this stage. For me, it was about telling the story for them, not telling my story. And that's what made me fall in love with it. And I continue to believe those same principles today, that it's about the thing, not about me. And now I've learned to call it, and I tell my buddies this, I call it edutainment. So I'm educating and I'm entertaining at the same time. You have to have some timing and have fun with it and be fluid. but you also, most importantly, have to educate the fans at home and not talk down to them, but almost make them feel like they're eavesdropping on a conversation between me and my play-by-play guy. And it keeps me falling in love with the game every single season.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that's good. You got to analyze the game, especially if you're the color commentator. You just got to focus on the game, not with the networks airing later. You just got to focus
Right. That's
on
why you're there.
Because I watch the NFL and stuff every Sunday, and the amount of advertisements during those games, it's like,
well,
you gotta analyze the game.
You got to pay the bills. You have to pay the bills. But so many guys get caught up in, I'm going to try something new today. I got a saying I'm going to throw out there and see if it catches on. And again, we're in a different time. So if I say one thing, Twitter's going to blow up. And some guys like that. Mm-hmm. I don't have any social media. So that's the other part of why I think I can be great at what I am. Now, you can be great even if you have social media. I'm not saying that. But I think what makes me better every game is that I'm not trying new stuff. I'm not trying to impress someone who's, a million miles away on Twitter so I can get another Twitter follower. That's not what I live for. That's not why I do the games. And I think that helps me because it's just about the game and the teams and the event. That's what's most important to me. That's why I'm there.
And just lastly, this has been an absolute pleasure having you on. But lastly, would you have any advice for me moving forward in my sports broadcasting journey?
What I will say is you have to find who Grant is as a journalist, as a broadcaster, whatever it is, whatever medium you go into. You can't have someone else say, "Kid, this is what you are." You should never allow anyone to I don't care who they are. I don't care if The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, comes and says, "Hey, Grant, this is who you are, man." I don't care who it is. I don't care if the president of the United States. Only you know who you are and who you can be, and I think that is what makes us find our greatness. That's what makes us become who we want to be. Now, you can listen to people along the way. I think as a player, I would take, I'm not going to handle the ball like Steph Curry or Russell Westbrook, but I can run hard like Russell Westbrook. I can make an open shot like Steph. So you can take pieces from different people. If they give you some advice, listen to it, but you also have to be able to sift through it and be who you want to be. And Grant, honestly, in life, it applies the same way. You have to be yourself. That's what has allowed me to be now doing this broadcasting for 20 years is I am myself. I'm not trying to be anyone else. And I've listened to people say, do this, try that. We think you're this. And listen, there's going to be times where you're going to say, man, maybe I should have listened to them. But that's all a part of the learning. But you have to be who you believe you can be, and don't let anyone else tell you what you are or who you are.
Thank you. Yeah, I've definitely tried to already go down that path. So that is some great advice. Thank you very much. Well, again, this is Donny Marshall. He covers college basketball on Fox Sports and Westwood One. So if you're looking for any analysis, statistics, and recaps, go check him out. Really appreciate it, Donny. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. That was awesome. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Best of luck to you as well.